Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Former President and war veteran Yamin Zarwel has passed away at the age of 82. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has paid his latest respect to former President and war veteran Yamin Zarwel at the People's Palace here in Algiers. The Secretary General of the African Petroleum Producers Organization, APO, Farid Ghazali, is on a working visit to Algeria as part of his participation to the 8th Symposium of the Algerian Gas Industry Association held in Oran. And as international efforts are underway to try and diffuse the tensions in the Middle East and Gulf region, the Iranian authorities have vowed to respond to the Israeli attacks against Iran's facilities. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. Former President and war veteran Yamin Zarwel has passed away at the age of 82. The announcement was made by the Presidency of the Republic. The former president passed away yesterday evening at the Mohammed Saghir Nakash Military Hospital here in Algiers after a long illness. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, paid his last respects at the People's Palace here in Algiers and signed the condolence book. He was accompanied by the Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Army General Said Changariha. Earlier, President Tebboune visited the Mohammed Saghir Nakash Military Hospital to pay respects to the late former president. Following his passing, the presidency declared 3 days of national mourning starting yesterday across the country and in diplomatic missions abroad with flags flown at half-mast. The remains of Yamin Zarwel lie at the People's Palace in Algiers, where a final tribute will be paid. He will be buried tomorrow after the Dhuhr prayer in his hometown of Betna. With the passing of the former President of the Republic and war veteran Yamin Zarwel, who died yesterday evening at the Mohammed Saghir Nakash Military Hospital here in Algiers, Algeria loses one of its most prominent figures who deeply marked a pivotal period in its history. Ms. Sharfi has the more details in this report.
Born in Batna on July 3, 1941, the deceased joined at an early age the ranks of the National Liberation Army ALN in 1957, actively contributing to the glorious War of National Liberation. After independence, he continued his career within the National People's Army, benefiting from high-level military training. The deceased held several high-ranking military positions. In particular, he led strategic training institutions such as the Batna Military School from 1974 to 1975 and the Shershel Military Academy from 1981 to 1982. He also served in common roles in the 6th, 3rd and 5th military regions before being appointed commander of land forces in 1989, setting himself as one of the military leaders who contributed to the building of the National People's Army. Yamin Zarwel also held several senior positions, including the head of state in 1994, after being appointed by the High Council of State, HCE, before being elected president of the Republic in 1995. The deceased was known for his personality, combining firmness in decision-making with rigor in crisis management. These qualities were particularly evident during one of the most difficult periods Algeria went through in the 1990s. He also stood out for his sovereign position, both internationally and in the management of economic affairs, ensuring the preservation of national decision-making autonomy. Among the key milestones of his political career was his decision to organize early presidential elections in 1999, thereby bringing his mandate to an end. After leaving his position as President of the Republic, the deceased chose to lead a simple life in his hometown of Batna, an attitude reflecting his humility and personal vision of responsibility.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has congratulated the students and professors at the University of Science and Technology Houari Boumediene of Algiers and Jinani Liebes University of Sidi Bel Abbas for their entry for the first time into the QS World University Rankings among the top 450 universities in the world in several specialties. Students and professors have for the first time entered the global ranking among the top 450 universities worldwide in fields such as aeronautics, mechanical engineering, and computer science and petroleum engineering. Prime Minister Sifir Reeb has visited an exhibition showcasing leading players in the telecommunications, technology and artificial intelligence, held alongside the opening of Global Africa Tech 2026 at the Abderrahmane Farhad International Conference Centre here in Algiers. During his tour of the exhibitors' stands, the Prime Minister emphasized the government's support for all efforts to master modern technologies and strengthen the digital sector. Prime Minister Sifir Reeb stressed that this major continental event provides a strategic platform for dialogue and cooperation, aiming to align public policies, infrastructure strategies, investment dynamics and innovation systems within a unified African digital vision.
My country's will to meet this common objective is highlighted by its hosting of this event that goes in line with the initiatives undertaken by the African Union and the International Telecommunications Union, as well as the main continental programs, NEPAD, Smart Africa and others. We hope this event would be an interactive consultation space and a platform for exchanging ideas and visions and sharing expertise and good practices in order to work out a unified technology strategy, allowing us to meet our common objectives and pave the way for an integrated, strong and digitally independent Africa.
The Prime Minister stressed the imperative for Africa to safeguard its position by enhancing its capacities to face up to very rapid challenges or changes.
Within an international context characterized by technological competitiveness and by discoveries made at an incredibly rapid pace, it is up to our continent to safeguard our position in this very rapid digital world, reinforce its capacities in such areas as networks, infrastructure, and interconnectivity.
This edition brings together leading telecommunications operators, global technology companies, investors and digital sector experts, reflecting the growing regional and international significance of the event. The Minister of State in charge of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, Mr. Mohamed Arqab, and the Minister of Mines, Petroleum and Energy of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire and current President of the African Petroleum Producers Organization, APO, Mr. Mamadou Sangfawa Coulibaly, have signed here in Algiers a comprehensive cooperation agreement in the fields of hydrocarbons, mining and energy, aimed at strengthening bilateral cooperation or partnership and developing joint projects covering all stages of the value chain. Ms. Hocharfi reports.
Mr. Arqab said the agreement provides a legal institutional framework to strengthen bilateral cooperation and opens broad prospects for developing joint projects across the entire value chain, from research and exploration to refining and petrochemicals, including the transport and marketing of petroleum products, as well as training and expertise transfer, particularly through the Sonatrach Group and specialized training institutions, in addition to cooperation in the exploration, exploitation and processing of mineral resources. The agreement was signed during the working visit of the Ivorian Minister to Algeria. Mr. Arqab also stressed that the visit offered important opportunity to strengthen consultations and exchange on ways to develop bilateral cooperation, notably in the fields of hydrocarbons and mining, in line with the shared will to strengthen African partnerships and South-South cooperation in strategic sectors, in accordance with the guidelines of President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. Mr. Arqab also emphasized Algeria's readiness to support Côte d'Ivoire through the transfer of technical and institutional expertise, as well as by strengthening trade exchanges, particularly in supplying refined petroleum products. He highlighted the importance of enhancing cooperation in the mining sector, especially in prospecting, exploitation, and the development of natural resources to support economic growth in both countries. The Ivorian minister, for his part, said that the agreement resulting from consultations launched in 2024 reflects the strength of bilateral relations and covers the entire value chain in the mining, oil and energy sectors. He added that the Ivorian delegation will visit Sonatrach facilities and specialized institutions to deepen cooperation, expressing hope for the swift conclusion of the implementation agreements on priority projects. He also noted that this visit is part of his participation in the 8th conference of the Algerian Gas Industry Association, AIG, in Oran.
The Secretary-General of the African Petroleum Producers Organization, APO, Farid Rizeli, is on a working visit to Algeria as part of his participation to the 8th Symposium of the Algerian Gas Industry Association, scheduled for Monday and Tuesday at the Mohammed bin Ahmed Convention Center in Oran. Mr. Ghazali will take part as a key strategic speaker, delivering a presentation entitled Natural Gas in the Service of Africa, Energy Sovereignty, Industrialization and African Cooperation, APO Catalyst. As international efforts are underway to try and diffuse tensions in the Middle East and Gulf region, the Iranian authorities have vowed to respond to the Israeli attacks against Iran's facilities. The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi pledged to make the Israeli authorities pay the cost of their attacks after steel complexes were hit by airstrikes. Nuclear facilities have been targeted by the Israeli strikes, including the nuclear plant of Bushehr in the southern part of the country, which was hit yesterday for the third time in 10 days. The International Atomic Energy Agency affirmed that attack has caused no damage. This came as efforts are underway to try and reach a peaceful settlement of the conflict and pave the way for a restoration of stability in the region. In this connection, the foreign ministers of Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Turkey are meeting today in Islamabad to examine the situation in the Middle East. The announcement was made by Pakistan, which indicated that the thorough discussions will be held on a series of issues, notably the efforts aimed at diffusing tensions in the region. And with this last bit of news, we come to the end of our news bulletin. Stay tuned to Radio Algeria International.
The international event of the week.
The world's attention focused again this week on the escalating conflict between the US and Iran, considered one of the most dangerous geopolitical crises unfolding today, as well as on the urgent effort to end the hostilities. The conflict, now entering its 4th week, has intensified across the Middle East and the Gulf region, with heavy airstrikes, regional instability and increasing humanitarian concerns. Media reports indicate that the Strait of Hormuz, considered a vital global oil route, remains at the center of tensions, with Iran restricting access, thus disrupting considerably the global energy supplies and impacting the oil prices. As fears of a broader regional conflict continue to rise, the UN, the European Union, the Arab states and several countries have called for de-escalation amid an increase in casualties. Talks are reportedly being facilitated through international intermediaries, including Pakistan. In this respect, the US has proposed a 15-point peace plan aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear activities, reopening key shipping routes and reducing regional tensions. Iran criticized the proposal as one-sided and unfair, while insisting on sovereignty and security guarantees as well as compensations before agreeing to any deal. Asked if the deep divisions between the US and Iran will persist, our political analyst from California, Hamoud Salhi, has this to say.
As it stands today, the United States and Iran remain far apart, both in what they want and in how they see the path forward. On one side, the United States is calling for a major rollback of Iran's strategic capabilities. That includes limits on its nuclear program, tighter oversight and restrictions on its broader military reach. On the other side, Iran is demanding something very different: compensation for past attacks, firm security guarantees, protections of its sovereignty, and even control over key waterways like the Strait of Hormuz. Put it simply, each side is asking the other to move in the opposite direction. The United States wants Iran to scale back. Iran wants the US to concede power and acknowledge responsibility of its attacks. The gap is not just wide, it is structural. Now, in theory, this position could serve as a starting point for negotiations. But the bigger issue here is trust, or more accurately, the lack of it. Iranian officials have dismissed the U.S. proposal as one-sided, and that reaction is rooted in experience. Over the past year, moments of diplomacy have unfolded alongside military escalations. From Tehran's perspective, talks have at times coincided with or even masked preparations for confrontation. Whether or not that interpretation is accurate, it shapes how Iran approaches any new proposal. At the same time, rhetoric from the United States and its allies hasn't helped ease tension. Statements suggesting they are gaining the upper hand or aiming for a decisive outcome signal confidence, but they also make compromise harder. When one side believes it's winning, there is less incentive to negotiate. All of this happening against the background of ongoing conflict, strikes, counterstrike, and disruptions to key shipping routes and other places. And when fighting continues, diplomacy becomes that much more difficult. So where does that leave things? For now, the prospect for a breakthrough appear limited. The demands are far apart, trust is low, and the situation on the ground remains very, very dangerous. That doesn't mean diplomacy is off the table, but it does mean that in the near term, these divisions are likely to persist.
This week, US President Donald Trump announced that he was postponing attacks on Iran's energy facilities, which may resume unless the Strait of Hormuz is reopened by April 6. In a recent statement, the American president warned Iran that failure to reach an agreement could result in continued strikes, saying that the Gulf country would be, as he put it, obliterated if negotiations collapse. At the same time, the White House said it was considering sending more additional troops to the Middle East. This would expand the US military presence in the region and may lead to a potential escalation on the ground. Analysts warn that such a move could mark a turning point, transforming the conflict from air and naval strikes to a possible ground operation. Ask if the troop deployment will strengthen the US leverage in negotiations or risk a deeper and more prolonged conflict. Our political analyst commented the issue.
Escalation can only make the conditions worse. The United States is stepping up pressure on Iran, combining a temporary pause with a clear warning. President Donald Trump says planned strikes on Iran strategy or Iran energy facilities have been postponed for now. But he also set a firm condition. If the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened by April 6, those attacks could move forward. At the same time, the White House is weighing the deployment of additional U.S. troops to the Middle East. This dual approach, holding back while building up, sends a strong signal. On the one hand, it leaves room for diplomacy. On the other, it shows the United States is preparing for the possibility of escalation. Those who support this move argue that increasing troops level strengthens Washington's leverage. A larger military presence can act as a deterrent, protect vital shipping lanes, and signal that the United States is ready to act if its demands are not met. In that sense, it is meant to push Iran towards reopening the strait and returning to negotiations. But there is a risk. From Iran's point of view, additional U.S. forces may not look like leverage. They may look like the early stages of a wider conflict. That perception could make Iranian leaders less willing to compromise and more likely to respond with their own military or strategic moves. And that's where the danger lies. Military buildups often trigger reactions. What began as a pressure can quickly turn into escalation, especially in a region already at war and on edge. The deadline adds another layer of tension. With just days to act, both sides face increasing pressure to make decisions quickly, raising the possibility of miscalculation. So while the troop deployment could strengthen the U.S. position at the negotiation table, it also raises the stake on the ground. Iranians will not see it that way, and they believe that the consequences are so severe that the United States should reconsider its move and accept their conditions, especially the responsibility to start this war. The tension as such remains uncertain, balanced between diplomacy and the risk of a deeper, more prolonged conflict.
The G7 meeting this week in Vaud-de-Cernay, northern France, called for an immediate cessation of attacks on civilian infrastructure and civilians. The group's foreign ministers said they were committed to minimize the impact of the war in Iran and to ensure a safe and free movement of ships in the Strait of Hormuz.
Hello and welcome to this new edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. Vitamin C is a vital nutrient for health. It helps form and maintain bones, skin and blood vessels. It is also an antioxidant. Vitamin C is one of the safest and most effective nutrients. Though it may not be the cure for the common cold, the benefits of vitamin C may include protection against immune system deficiencies, cardiovascular diseases, prenatal health problems, eye disease, and even skin wrinkling. The tolerable upper intake level, or the maximum amount you can take in a day that likely won't cause harm, is 2,000 milligrams a day for adults. Vitamin C occurs naturally in some foods, especially fruits and vegetables. Vitamin C supplements are also available on the market. Other names for vitamin C include L-ascorbic acid and L-ascorbate. Vitamin C is water-soluble, and the body does not store it. To maintain adequate levels of vitamin C, people need to consume food that contains it every day. The body needs vitamin C for various functions, including helping the body produce collagen and some neurotransmitters. As an antioxidant, it helps remove unwanted substances known as reactive oxidative species from the body. It helps the body absorb iron, it boosts the immune system, it enhances wound healing. Vitamin C's antioxidant activity may help reduce inflammation and lower the risk of developing serious conditions, including some cancers. The body needs vitamin C to produce collagen. This is the main component of connective tissue and makes up to 1 to 2% of muscle tissue. Low levels of vitamin C in the body can lead to scurvy. Symptoms of scurvy include swollen joints, bleeding gums, and loose teeth, anemia, and tiredness. The benefits of vitamin C may include the following: wound healing. Vitamin C helps the body produce collagen and is present in skin, muscle, and other tissues. People with a low intake of vitamin C may experience slower wound healing as their bodies will be less able to produce collagen. Cardiovascular health. Vitamin C may benefit cardiovascular health for several reasons. Studies have suggested that it may have antioxidant properties, help widen the blood vessels, improve nitric oxide production, help reduce plaque instability in atherosclerosis. This could help protect against heart disease and hypertension or higher blood pressure. Cataracts and age-related macular degeneration. Vitamin C may help lower the risk of cataracts and slow the progression of age-related macular degeneration. However, more research is needed in this field. Experts believe that oxidative stress may be a factor in both conditions, so any benefit may be due to vitamin C's antioxidant activity. Diabetes. A 2019 study looked at 31 people aged around 60 years to see whether or not taking vitamin C supplements made a difference to their glucose levels after eating. After taking supplements for 4 months, the participants' glucose level and blood pressure improved compared with taking a placebo. This suggests that vitamin C could one day be a treatment for diabetes. Vitamin C enhances the absorption of iron, and some healthcare professionals recommend taking vitamin C supplements with iron tablets to improve absorption in people with iron deficiency anemia. One 2020 study looked at 432 people who took iron supplements for iron deficiency anemia. Some took vitamin C with their iron supplements and others did not. However, both groups saw similar increases in iron, suggesting that vitamin C supplementation is unnecessary for this purpose. Allergies. In a 2018 study, 71 people with skin or respiratory allergies received various doses of intravenous vitamin C, and the researchers observed the severity of the participants' symptoms. Their paper concludes that taking a high dose of vitamin C may help reduce allergy symptoms. The best source of vitamin C are fresh fruits and vegetables. However, heat and cooking in water can destroy some of the vitamin C content in these foods, so eating raw foods is better. Some good sources of vitamin C include red and green peppers, oranges and orange juice, grapefruit, kiwi fruit, strawberries, spinach and other green leafy vegetables, tomatoes, potatoes and green peas. Who is at risk of deficiency? Those at risk of vitamin C deficiency include people who smoke or have exposure to second-hand smoke, infants who consume only evaporated or boiled milk, people who do not consume a varied diet, people with certain health conditions, especially those that involve intestinal malabsorption. Taking too much vitamin C is unlikely to cause any significant problems, but if a person consumes more than 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day, they will not absorb it all. This may lead to diarrhea and gastrointestinal discomfort. And with this, we come to the end of this week's edition of your program, The Health Magazine. Do join us next week for a fresh edition. Until then, stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and bye-bye for now.